guys, how are you this morning? I am not broadcasting from the little nun's room today. As you can see, it's slightly different background. Oh, look, there's a kettle. That might give you a clue as to where I am. I am in the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen because this morning I've been working out how to get over this SCOBY dilemma that I had yesterday with my SCOBY. And for those of you who are not sure what that is, it's a form of yeast that you use to make kombucha, and it's called a SCOBY. It's got this great acronym that I can't remember all the words for now. So I decided this morning that rather than trying to get all technical about it, I'm just going to re-watch the video again that I did 4 weeks ago, which made me my kombucha in the first place. So I just thought I'd talk you through the process and keep it as simple as possible. And that isn't always easy. So what you really need is a SCOBY that you get from a friend or a relative, or like me, a hairdresser. And that SCOBY should come in a maybe little jam jar with a bit of the SCOBY juice, the kombucha juice in it, just to keep that SCOBY nice and happy during transit from wherever that comes from. And also during the time that you're then going frantically, how am I going to get all the equipment to do this? But then when you look into it, actually, really, you don't need that much equipment. So for making kombucha, you just need a glass jar, which I showed you yesterday, but it's a glass jar like this, about this big. I'm only using it about halfway, actually, so I could do double batches, but I'm only keeping it very simple right now. So a glass jar and a glass bowl, a nice glass bowl, as you can see here, measuring jug. Very important. You also need plastic utensils, because apparently a SCOBY doesn't like anything that's metal, anything that's hot, or soap. So when you're washing all of these things, you want to not be using soap. So if you want to make sure everything's clean beforehand, you know, when you sterilize jars, I've just been using a bit of apple cider vinegar with hot water and just washing it around and just making sure it's clean that way. So no soap, no heat, no metal. So when you get your SCOBY and you're transferring it, you really want to be using plastic spoons or forks. Here we go, my high-tech equipment here. I've got 2 of those that I've been using. Now, also what you do need for future is a sieve that's not metal. So you just need to get a sieve that's not metal. I don't have one of those yet, so I'll talk about that a bit later. So anyway, how do you make kombucha? Considering that you pay £4 or £5 in the shop for it, that's pretty incredible considering how easy it is actually to make. Although with all of these things, if you want to make lots and lots of batches and it's your time and effort as well, then you want to make sure that you're getting some sort of profit from it. So anyway, what you do is you get your SCOBY and your little bit of liquid, like I've got in my big jar at the moment from your friend, and you pour it into the big jar, in that big nice clean jar. Then you create your new brew, your new fresh brew, because that little SCOBY in there, that needs feeding. So we've got to feed that baby. It loves sugar. I mean, this thing is addicted. It's got the biggest sweet tooth on the planet, literally. So what you do is you have a litre of water, so a litre of water in your jug, preferably filtered water, 2 tea bags, 2 green tea bags, that's what I'm using, and about 30 grams of sugar, and you put all of those in together. As you can see here, I've got everything brewing nicely. It's getting, just as I'm talking to you, it's nice. It's actually not like my hot chocolate the other day, it was cooling down, so by the time I got to drink it, even though it was delicious, it really should have been a bit hotter. It didn't qualify for the word hot chocolate anymore, but I want this to cool right down. There needs to be no heat in this whatsoever. So all I'm doing is just sitting, that's like a really big major amount of caffeine. You know, if I was to drink that right now, I'd probably be flying high all day, but I'm obviously not going to do that. So this kombucha is, this fresh mix is waiting to go into the glass jar with the SCOBY, and that is it. It's so simple. So SCOBY with the previous mother mix, kombucha mother mix that your friend has given you, tea, sweetened tea that you're just brewing and just letting it cool down, and then you pour it into the jar. And then after that, all you do is you get a bit of paper towel from a kitchen towel to cover up the top, and elastic band, and that is it. Now, I did that 4 weeks ago, which meant that I had some kombucha ready to go. And that was what I was questioning really, because my SCOBY just looked a little bit brown and on the top, and I was just not quite sure. I suppose because it's also organic and nature, you're not quite sure like what you're drinking. So anyway, I this morning I just thought, do you know what, rather than, because I was actually just going to pour that mix away and just refresh and start anew, but rather than that I thought, well, this is the opportunity to make my own first batch of kombucha. So all I did this morning to get this much liquid, I'll keep showing you things, and to get this much liquid left in the jar, this jar was about half full, basically half full. So I poured out the liquid into this perfect sized jar that I had underneath the counter, because I'm a bit of it's the only thing I hoard really is jars. I've got this thing about it because I think one day I'm going to make jam or something, which I do, but there's quite a few under there. So I poured it into this jar. Now, preferably at this point, what you want to do is use a sieve that is not metal, so that you get rid of all the mother bits, all of the little kind of like not so pleasant bits if you're drinking it. But that's what I'm saying, I haven't got that yet, so I need to find one of those. So this is not sieved kombucha. And then I found out all you do is you put 2 teaspoons of sugar in here, and then put a lid on, which you don't do with the other one. You leave that for the air to process through. Put a lid on and you just let that sit for a week. And then in a week's time, this is going to be my first, which is going to be the opposite way around. Oh no, it won't, hopefully not. Little Nun's Room kombucha #1. I'm going to stick that on there. I'm actually really, really proud of that. So I'm hoping in a week's time that's going to be ready. It's quite exciting, as I said about science experiment. When I put the sugar in, it did go nuts. It started to fizz up, really, really fizz up. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have some sort of explosion in the kitchen. Luckily, no. But it's like champagne. I think they add sugar to the process. So this is what I've done with the kombucha. But the sugar is then eaten away. So it's not a sugary drink. It isn't a sugary drink. It's eaten away by the yeast and the goodness inside there. So that's what makes it so healthy and apparently so good for your gut. So whilst I'm waiting for my tea to brew down to stick into my SCOBY, I just thought that I would do that little video for you to get your confidence to maybe try and do it. I don't have any SCOBY'S to share yet because my SCOBY'S still looks like it needs a bit more growing. So when I do, I'll let you know, and charge top dollar, of course. Got to make some money during this time as a freelancer. But yeah, just thought that might be a bit of fun to post today. I know not everyone's into this kind of thing, but it is so simple, and I will put the instructions in the comments and the instructions box below. Please subscribe, please like. Promise it's not always going to be about kombucha, but it is one of those passions that I'm into right now whilst we're on lockdown, that there's time to do these things, and you never know, it could become a future pattern, and also feel much healthier, elixir of life, and more beautiful because of it. Who doesn't want that? So speak soon, lots of love, bye.